Today we're going to be talking about the Trijicon RMR and the Halo 507C. They are both very rugged, miniature reflex sights, which is not the same as a ruggedized miniature reflex sight, because that is a trademark of Trijicon specifically, even though that they're both rugged, miniature, and reflex sights. So first we're going to talk about the cost of these. The Holosun is built in China. It costs approximately $300. This particular Trijicon RMR costs approximately $500. Now right off the bat you can notice that there's a huge difference in the packaging. This is going to have a nice ruggedized plastic box here, much larger than the Holosun. Depending on how you feel about packaging, I always get a little bit bitter when they spend a lot of money on the packaging, because it always gets translated to the consumer, and this usually ends up in the trash or in a drawer, not really getting used very often. But if you're a type of person that likes the original packaging and likes to hold on to it, well, definitely the Trijicon is your option there. I'm going to start with the Holosun, so we can kind of open it up. A little plastic box there. If you open that up, you can see you have a little adjustment tool, and you have a little mounting bracket here for any rail mounting that you're going to do. So now moving on to the Trijicon box, very ruggedized. It's kind of like a Pelican box, a small one. You can tell that the plastic isn't quite as high-end as something like Pelican, so you have to push the button in. It has a steel crossbeam that goes across there, very decently ruggedized latch that should last you quite a while. You could fit a very small pistol in there if you wanted to. You can use it to fit your SIG 365 in there. No, but not with an RMR margin on it. Yeah, that's kind of ironic, isn't it? I will say, just for anybody out there, it doesn't have a sealed gasket like a Pelican case would actually have. So this is not like a waterproof case. So inside there you get a nice construction booklet. This is definitely more quality than the Holosun. We have our Trijicon sticker, so you can tell all the government oversight lords that you are a gun guy by putting that on your vehicle, or maybe a suitcase that you own or something. Okay, so based on the packaging, it's very obvious that Trijicon spent a lot more money on their packaging than Holosun did. If you are really interested in getting a little bonus box with Trijicon on it that is durable to maintain your product, or to put other trinkets or diddly-doos inside there, then definitely go with the Trijicon box. But in my personal opinion, I would be wary of good packaging, because it always gets translated to the consumer. I much rather have a cheap package and a great product and just save a couple bucks. So here we go. We got the Holosun. So here we have the Holosun, and right away I noticed that it is considerably thicker from front to back at the top. It has more sun shielding for less glare. I noticed right away also that there is a solar panel on the top. I'll get into how that operates with the reticle in just a bit here. I do notice that there's some very nice cutouts here to reduce weight and also make it a little more streamlined so it doesn't catch on stuff. We also have stylistic cuts in the side that will reduce weight. One of the things I also noticed is that the battery insert is on the side, so when it's time to change the battery, you do not have to ruin your zero. We will talk more about that when we get to the Trijicon. Over here on this side, we have our brightness control. We can turn our bright up and bright down. Also, if you hold down the negative, you can switch from a single dot to a kind of a crosshair with a dot in the center, remnants to the EOTech sight. That's a very nice feature. So we have already dropped this thing right on the top of itself. We're very happy with how strong it is. Even though it's from China, it's definitely not made of Chinesium. I think that's some very high quality aluminum there. Moving over to the exterior of the Trijicon. So right away I noticed that it's a lot thinner here, which is going to give you less shielding from sun. So here is the increase of brightness, and here is the decrease of brightness on this side. It does make it a little more intuitive if you just remember what side to press on. I noticed that it has these kind of, the way it kind of sets is that this is concaved, and it has kind of these bumps here. I mean, potentially catch on things are a little rounded off, but they are a little sharp there. I think the design, the purposing behind that is for taking impact in those corners and being structurally sound and taking impact, as opposed to the Holosun, which is going to have that rounded off shape, which is less likely to snag on things and is more efficient with its space. So the first thing I notice when I'm looking through this is that the Trijicon has this high platform in the back. And what that does is it actually eliminates some of the bottom of your viewing window from your line of sight, making the height of your viewing window fairly flat, as opposed to the Holosun that when I look through it, I have a higher visual viewing window. So I have more elevation in my viewing window, which is definitely nice. I can tell that even though the Trijicon is slightly smaller, the Holosun is more efficient with the amount of space that it has, significantly more efficient. The other thing that I notice as I'm viewing through it is that the Trijicon is considerably dimmer. Light transfer through the Trijicon as opposed to the Holosun has a much clearer glass. I can't imagine why Trijicon would choose to go with a darker glass. I don't know if there's some kind of advantage in maybe high sunlight or some kind of quick acquisition of targeting and being able to see the light variant if your reticle goes down or something. It just doesn't make any sense to me to have less visibility or lower transfer of light through the lens. I would imagine that the clearer you can make the glass, the better, which actually surprises me that the less expensive optic of only $300 has the significantly clearer glass. All right, so I did talk about the placement of the battery and the RMR. So supposedly each one of these will perform, the battery will perform for approximately 50,000 hours of use. So approximately both of these, the batteries will last 5.7 years, which is a very decent runtime. So we're gonna have to take this guy off and you're gonna get my real reaction. Supposedly, according to my producer, that this is going to be interesting. So can you guys see underneath there? We're gonna see it together. All right, that's it. So the battery is just completely exposed. There's no cover at all. There's a very thin gasket here. So there's the battery. I'm gonna place that back in there. You kind of see how it goes in there. There is no mounting bracket, nothing there to protect your system except for this very thin gasket, which depending on how it's mounted in your bracket and whether it lays flat and it's actually gonna cause a seal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with rubber, but it rots, it gives out. Rubber bands, they get crappy, they break. Even neoprene washers don't last forever. I am very disappointed in this awkwardly placed gasket to protect electronics. I would probably have some redundancy in there somehow. I think it's really important. I mean, a lot of people drop their guns in the water. It happens. But one of the cool things is you know, every 3 to 5 years you replace that battery, and you do not need to change your zero at all. You don't need to go through the process of taking it off. You don't need to go through the process of going to the range and re-zeroing it. You can just swap it out any given day if you don't like its performance, and boom, you're back in the fight. I actually like that feature. That's a pretty good design feature right there, having that battery access on the side. So right here we have a solar panel, and what that does is even if the battery is completely dead, it'll function in the daytime. It doesn't function at night. There's no internal battery that charges, but it does function during the daytime, even with the dead battery, which I found absolutely amazing. Is it actually monitors the light input and will automatically dim in dark environments and automatically increase its brightness. But that being said, you still do have control of your dimmability here. One of the things that I did want to talk about is the tactile feel of these buttons, because it's going to matter. When I press on this RMR, I have a slight flex, but no click at all. You have to press pretty hard, and you can feel a slight flex. And that is I don't really get a lot of input. You have to be visually looking through to see if you're getting what you want as far as brightness goes. So here I'm pressing on the negative sign, turning it down, and I have no idea if I'm actually turning it down. Okay, yep, that's turning it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna press on this again, and I think most of the deflation or the depression you're gonna see is from my finger, not from the actual thing. But I don't know if you can kind of get in there really close. You can see that it is really difficult to press. You can see that it's imprinting on my finger. It's a little painful. I have to press into the plastic. There's no click. There's just a flex, which is actually quite disappointing. You can see that obviously that marks on my finger there. I mean, it's a little bit painful, but I'm no pussy. But it's definitely not very nice. This one, to turn it off, you have to press both buttons down, clamp down pretty hard, and you have to hold it for 6 seconds. You really got to get a tight grip on there. Hold it for 6 seconds. Nope, yep. Okay, and then there's the indents on my fingers. You can see that how hard I had to press it. See, now I'm switching fingers because I can't do it at the same fingers again. To turn it on, you just press one button. It doesn't matter which side, as long as you press it hard enough, and it'll kick back on. There it is. It took me 3 tries, but it'll kick back on if you just press either one of those buttons. For this one, turn on, you just press either one of the buttons. Even though that they're a much smaller button, it is a lot more tactile. I don't know if you can get in there and see it. Yeah, can you hear it? Let's put that next to the mic. You can hear the click. And you can hear the click, you can feel the click. It's pretty nice, pretty easy to click that. Quick shout out to the holster that we're using today. This is KTactical. This is designed to be used with your RMR. It has a decent amount of space there. I just want to quickly mention that this particular holster does have a great retention. Works with, this is an outside the waistband holster. The inside the waistband does not work with the RMRs. It also works with an assortment of 1911s. I know there's a lot of 1911 owners out there. I don't really know how they did it. The engineers are wonderful. I worked with them for some of the features in this guy, but I have no idea how they got this to fit so many 1911s with great retention right out of the box. Links in the description for any of these products. Okay, so as in most of our videos, when we're working with optics, one of the most important things that we do that I don't really see other people doing is we're going to do a parallax test. So this isn't a particularly scientific study, but I do want to make sure that everyone is understanding that the only thing moving is the camera behind the optic, that the target is not moving, obviously, and the firearm is not moving in any way whatsoever. Just the camera, which is mimicking your eye in relation to the optic as you bring the gun up, and you're seeing the optic moving in relation to your target, which is not actually moving. So this is obviously going to cause misses or inaccuracy because you're going to see your optic on target, you're going to pull the trigger, but if you're not exactly behind the optic is lying to you. The reticle will be lying to you in its actual position of aim. Does that make sense to everybody out there? The bullet will not land where you're aiming because it's not actually pointing where the reticle is. So if we can get the parallax, if we can get them on the same visual plane, then you're going to get much better results. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody who's listening. And so that is going to be multiplied over distance, which is just how missing works. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and test the parallax on the Holosun. So you can see the quality of this reticle. You can see that the light is much better shining through the glass there, but you're also going to see how little the parallax is. As we move left and right, yeah, we're not touching the gun in any way. That's not moving at all. The target downrange is not moving at all. It's just a whiteboard down there. And all we're doing is moving the camera back and forth as your head would move back and forth in relation to the sight. As you move to the left and move to the right, the relation changes. So they switch back and forth, or they move in relation to each other. So if you have no parallax, then you're going to have very accurate shots even if you're not behind your optic. And that's worth paying for. That's going to make you much faster and much more confident in your ability to hit your target accurately when you raise that firearm up, when you do not have to be exactly behind the reticle. So you'll be very confident that your bullets will go where the reticle is aiming when you have no parallax. So right here we have the completely fake $35 Trijicon, which we would expect to have very poor parallax control. We'd expect it to have very bad glass where not a lot of light would be able to shine through it for target identification. And it is mind-baffling that that reticle has better parallax control than the $500 Trijicon. It's not moving at all. In relation to the target downrange, the gun is, as long as it's zeroed, assuming that it's zeroed, that those bullets are going to hit where that reticle is every time, no matter where your head is in relation to the reticle itself. So this $35 sight might not be rated for heavy use or even be able to take one single shot. It may be an airsoft product that will not survive the recoil of a firearm in any way. So they both have blue tint, but the real Trijicon is definitely clearer and it's better. So you have much. So here is the Holosun on the left and the real Trijicon, the $500 Trijicon on the right, and you can see, so looking at a white background, we can see the tint. The Holosun has a slight yellow tint. The Trijicon has a pretty dark blue tint, removing quite a considerable amount of visual light.
Yeah, you can see that?
Mm-hmm. In conclusion, I would really like to know your opinion on these sights. This guy here had a quick cameo in this video, but in all honesty, we know that this is... So let's really focus on these two guys here. In your personal opinion, out of these two and the way I presented them, which of the two would you want to spend your hard mononama? Which one of these two would you prefer to have in your repertoire? For the same price, you could almost get two of these guys, one for your pistol and one for your shotgun. But honestly, I don't really care about price nearly as much as I care about performance. And to be honest, in my personal opinion, this Holosun seems to be a much better optic than the Trijicon. It just has so many more features, and it's also $200 cheaper. I mean, I can't complain with that. You Trijicon fanboy, before you start commenting about all the ways I'm wrong, you got to hear me out here. So in my final conclusion, after really looking at these optics and their performances, it is very obvious to me that I would never want the Trijicon on my firearm, no matter how much it cost. It's just too many liabilities. It just doesn't perform nearly as well as I want it to. The parallax on it is absolutely dreadful. I can raise my pistol up, see my reticle exactly on target, have perfect trigger control, and throw a shot because I wasn't exactly behind the gun. And that doesn't really build confidence. That's going to slow me down. I'm trying to shoot as fast as I can, get that gun up, see that sight, and hit the target. This Holosun is going to outperform it much better. I'm going to get used to having a lot more trust with that reticle being where my rounds are going to hit where that reticle is, and I'm not going to have to waste a bunch of time getting perfectly behind the reticle. As soon as I see it, I can squeeze off a shot with good trigger control, and I'm going to have good hits, and I'll be able to diagnose myself even better if I'm making mistakes. It's probably because of bad trigger control, not because of bad parallax. It's so ridiculous, the differences between these two. Holosun is not sponsoring us, neither is Trijicon in any way. We have no money from either of these. Oh, I do want to say all of this information is absolute conjecture. There's no scientific proof. This is only based on my personal experience with these. This is a disclaimer so I don't get sued, because that'll happen. If anybody can present to me why I am making these observations, or if there's other observations that I am missing, please put that down in the comments. I am a little curious if there's anybody out there who can understand how this very high-end Trijicon sight has such terrible parallax. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe it's 0 for 15 yards or something more combat-oriented or something, as opposed to the 3 yards that we have it set up at in the shop. But please, go ahead and comment in below. Send me some resources. I'm really curious what you guys think. But in my personal opinion, at this particular time, I really feel like Trijicon's pretty much a ripoff. Yeah, I guess all the money went into the box. So that's a $480 box, $20 sight. Oh yeah, wait for part 2 where we actually shoot them. Just for anybody who's out there, part 2 never comes. We don't shoot these things. You should go buy these and shoot them. Yeah, part 2 of our air tech never came about. We never shot that because we only have guns. We don't have any bullets in California.